You cannot get there by belief. You get there by knowing. Your higher mind will not let you in if you only believe. That's why the precept, the maxiom in the scriptures is, man, know thyself. It does not say believe thyself. Man, know the truth. It doesn't say believe the truth. Knowledge opens the higher doors of divine mind in which we live and move and have our being. The three places that we are to search and research for this identity, self-knowledge, and self-revelation is history, the Bible, I'll abbreviate this one, and the dictionary. This is a misnomer. This is a Eurocentric concept that allows those that chronicleize our records to manipulate and give the point of view of that past to their children, then matter-of-factly to ours. Yes?
How about other said holy books?
That's a very good question. And just as I wrote that, it came to me that we cannot rely upon Quran, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam for that identification. The reason why is that the system used in the Bible is not the same systematic approach to Quran, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and other books. The Kabbalistic system is an ancient Moorish system translated to what is now referred to as a, quote, Jewish or Judaic or system of Judaism. The Cushites did not have to do that. They had their pantheon of gods. The Muslim does not have a pantheon of gods. In fact, it omitted that pantheon from which they got the source of the ayats for Quran. By they, I don't mean a group of them, only two. A divine man called Gabriel, who helped another black man called Muhammad Rasulullah to structure over a given period of time the scriptural verses of the 99 chapters of Quran. Which brings me to this remembrance here. Where's my other chart? I'll get that in a minute. The concept we're looking for is not his story, and that's a valid word of lexicogrammatic writing in terms of code word. His story is exactly what the word means. Him being the European writing about someone else's records of past. What we're looking for are our records of our past. And that's a difference. Those records of our past are from our ancestral point of view, not his. Thereby, the validity of Afrocentric and Eurocentric, meaning the African's point of view, center of thinking, center of viewing self, family, community, and world, as opposed to a European view of community, family, worldview. Before the transition of Yosef ben Yochanan, that's what 98% of colored Negro Americans had, was a European point of view. You know, Frantz Fanon coined this from the distance of Algeria when he said the only alternative that the African has is to become white. But he first announced that he was not cosmically conscious and was not illumined, and it pretty much run into an intellectual blank wall in terms of where the African could go from the disadvantage point he was in at the time that Fanon was writing. This was even after the Algerian Revolution that they thought was going to be a success, and some, I guess even then, some Boudelays turned around and turned the government back over to the Illuminati. You know? So from his vantage point, I guess he was pretty much correct at that point. At that point, it seemed to be no place for the African to go, being the subservient class. Then the refound concept of the African in America, the Negro colored fellow and his clan, who discovered he's not a Negro, not colored, and not a fellow, has been virtually the greatest revelation of this millennia for us in this discovery that is gradually dawning upon the masses. The first part of that was going from Negro and colored to black. Black suddenly one day became beautiful almost everywhere at once in the passing through of those that were carrying this torch to illumine black America in the earlier period of black art, black conferences, black everything. But even then, black folks still tremble when they heard the word black, you know. So we were understanding the problem of our psyche being disturbed with a concept that had no cultural value or validity in our own psychology. It didn't mean anything except dark. On the subconscious level, it meant dead, ugly, inferior, frightening, absenteeism. That's, if you look in the dictionary at the word black, it will strain your generous intellect to appreciate that concept. You know, will strain it. So getting through this thin veil of haze about identity has been and still is the ongoing revelation of the new or neo-Afrocentric age, an age that has yet to be announced. The European American has been having a new age cultural input for the last 30 years, if not longer. Around 1960, 65, they began their new age dialogue and began to present new age literatures. No such light was shown in the black world, so black folks who were, quote, intelligent Negroes went to European New Age conferences, New Age churches, New Age books, and came out whiter than the damn folks that were white in the class, you know. And that generosity of heart, this urgency to find love, and strangely enough, to find love from someone who has declared they do not love us first, showed the psychosis of black America's mental state. That's what Dr. King was placed in front of. Show these people we love them. You see? Let them throw at us, let them do this. You know, what was the psychology that nonviolence and civil disobedience presented? And the East Indian had to do the same thing. The difference was the East Indian was the majority in India. Is why his stuff worked. You see, and those that were hitting them in the head looked like them. You know, and many of them wrote later. They became physically ill at the thought of hitting their own people out of the service of policemen for the Britisher. You know, probably the only successful cultural protests on planet Earth as nonviolent. And the British packed up and went home. just as Mahatma Gandhi told them. That's all they had to do. He said, well, how are we going to do this? Just pack up and go home. It's that simple. We have not been that fortunate. And the question is, do we need to be? Are we in the right place with the wrong identity, with a